Japan says seawater is safe after release of nuclear-contaminated water into ocean. Police bust syndicate group using AI face-swapping techniques to trick banks. Cathay Pacific holds Recruitment Day on the mainland. Hello and welcome to TVB News. A day after releasing treated radioactive water from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean amid international objections, Japan published the first findings of water sample tests, which showed the concentration levels of radioactive materials were not excessive. Japan's foreign minister held a video call with the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, who appeared to support claims that the water is safe. However, protests against the move continued in Japan and other countries, while the Chinese ministry heavily criticized the release. Daniel Laurel tells us more.
A video released by Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings showed images from a control room at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, where staff operated the second stage of the initial release of the plant's treated radioactive water into the ocean. The pump activated on Thursday sent the first batch of the diluted treated water from a mixing pool to a secondary pool 10 minutes later. It then moved through a connected undersea tunnel to ground 1 kilometer off the coast. Officials said the water takes about 30 minutes to exit from the tunnel. On Friday, Tokyo Electric Power Company released information about the level of radioactive tritium from 10 locations 2 hours after Thursday's release, which found the concentration levels to be at the lower end of acceptable levels. Meanwhile, Japanese Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi held a video call with International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi on Friday. Grossi said the radioactive materials tested at a much lower level than previously expected, and it was safe.
It was very encouraging to see that the early results confirm what we had foreseen, which is that the radionuclides still present in the water would be at extremely low levels, actually much lower levels that we had initially assumed.
However, the release remains controversial. It has prompted criticism while sparking protests both within Japan and internationally. Demonstrators in Tokyo expressed their displeasure on Friday by rallying outside of Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's office. Meanwhile, China's foreign ministry said the impact of the release goes beyond Japan's borders, and the issue is by no means a private matter for Japan. Beijing's Minister of Commerce spokeswoman Xu Jueting said the release will cause unpredictable damage to the global marine environment and will further aggravate the safety risks of Japanese food and aquatic products. The China Atomic Energy Authority said the Japanese government's move has seriously damaged the authority and credibility of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Daniel, TV News.
Some people in Hong Kong are hoarding sea salt after Japan started releasing treated nuclear wastewater from the wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant to the sea on Thursday. Some aquatic products from Japan, including sea salt, have been banned. Mimo Sangai with more.
On Thursday, the SAR government banned aquatic imports from 9 Japanese prefectures and Tokyo metropolis. One of the prohibited products is sea salt. Some local residents began to stockpile salt. This was the salt section in a Wan Chai supermarket. A large section was empty. A similar empty shelf was found in another supermarket in Wan Chai. However, not everyone thinks the same.
I won't personally be stocking up on salt. Yeah.
Why is that? Do you think it will not help at all, or?
No, I think if it's radioactive, if it's contaminated, I'm not too sure if. I won't be stocking up on salt.
No. That's actually you're hoarding it, right? Like for others, it will be difficult. So, and we have seen that during the COVID period. That doesn't make sense.
While some people said they will not buy salt, they respect others' choices. A food scientist said residents should not worry about serious nuclear contamination of sea salt.
Customers, they never worry about this. All because if you understand the whole processing of how we extract the sea salt from the sea, at the early stage, we have to collect all those sources from the sea salt. Then we have to purify. Then we remove those impurities and also those contaminated radionuclides, all these things. We have to concentrate all the sea solutions. Then we make it as a crystal. So throughout this whole processing, all those unexpected impurities should be removed.
To ensure public food safety, the government has been monitoring the radiation level of the imported aquatic products. Yet some residents decided to buy their own personal radiation detector. For instance, the shop owner in Sham Shui Po said more people have shown interest in the detectors in the last few days. Chairman of the Hong Kong Nuclear Society does not recommend people buying those machines, saying they are not accurate enough.
They hasn't been calibrated with the known radiation source. So basically, when people sort of purchase those meter from shop or from Taobao, it's only a few hundred to about a couple of $1,000s. I believe this is a bit of waste of money.
Luke added the radiation level in the released contaminated water is low and will be massively diluted by the time the water came to Hong Kong. He urged residents not to panic. Memos 9, TVB News.
The police have busted a syndicate group that used artificial intelligence face-swapping techniques to trick financial institutions to lend them money. 6 people were arrested. This is the first bust using such technology. Sharon Tang reports.
Currently, setting up an account or borrowing money from a financial institution can be done online. Applicants will be asked to scan and upload their ID cards and take a selfie in real time so facial recognition can verify their identities. Police received intelligence that fraudsters used other people's lost ID cards to fake their identities. Using AI face swapping technology, they took a picture and created a set of false information to borrow money online. Following investigations, police officers made arrests on Thursday and busted the fraud group. Superintendent Dickon Koh said fraudsters have used the face-swapping technique at least 20 times. He said fraudsters tried to impersonate residents who had lost their ID cards, hoping to trick the facial recognition system and complete the online procedures. At least one successful attempt was made. Between September last year and July this year, the group embezzled at least 8 ID cards and tried to take out loans from 20 banks and loan companies. They filed loan applications 90 times and made 54 attempts to set up bank accounts. In the end, only 4 loan applications worth some $200,000 were approved. The lost ID cards were also used to register 30 prepaid SIM cards that were used to send out 7,200 phishing messages to lure residents to hand out their personal information using points for rewards as bait. At least one person's credit card was found to have been embezzled for shopping. Koh reminded the public that seeing is not believing, especially in this day and age. 4 men and 2 women aged between 31 and 50 were arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud. That includes the male mastermind of the group. All of them are being detained. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
Cathay Pacific Airways is hosting a recruitment day on the mainland for the first time. CEO Ronald Lam expects employees from the mainland will reach 4,000 by 2025. The recruitment event in Shanghai will last for 6 days. The airline says more than 2,000 people have registered. Most of them are from the Greater Bay Area cities. Among them, 600 have been invited to attend the session. They must pass height and language tests. The standards are in line with that of Hong Kong. In May, 3 aircrew members were accused of discriminating against non-English speaking passengers on a flight. The carrier subsequently promised to increase the number of cabin crew members from the mainland. Financial Secretary Paul Chan said Web3 will become an important strength for the city's economy. Chan's remarks were made during a forum at the Cyberport.
We at the Hong Kong SA government believe in the potential of Web3 and its underlying technology, blockchain, to fast-track innovation, to inspire new business models, and to make our everyday life better. In finance, trade, manufacturing, logistics, and so many other areas. It is presenting boundless new possibilities. That is why we are committed in terms of both policies and resources to nurturing a vibrant Web3 ecosystem in Hong Kong, which will become an important driving force in our economic development.
The 4-day Computer and Communications Festival kicked off at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai today. This year, the festival has over 200 exhibitors and 800 stalls. The public will be able to visit different themed sections, including the green technology and 5G areas. Some exhibitors anticipate more customers to visit the festival this year after the pandemic. BRICS announced yesterday that it had invited 6 countries, including Argentina, Iran, and Saudi Arabia, to become new members. President Xi Jinping said this expansion will take collaboration among BRICS countries to new heights. Sharon Tang reports.
The latest BRICS summit concluded in Johannesburg, South Africa on Thursday. 6 new countries including Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates were invited to join BRICS. They will become official members from January the 1st next year. South African officials had earlier revealed that around 40 countries are interested in joining BRICS. President Xi Jinping believes the expansion marks a new beginning for BRICS cooperation.
这次会员是历史性的。
She said this membership expansion is historic and reflects the resolution of the BRICS countries to unite and cooperate with other developing countries. This meets the expectations of the international community and serves the common interests of emerging markets and developing countries, she added. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva said new members were chosen based on geographical importance, not the ideology of their governments. Leaders of the BRICS countries then attended the China-Africa Leaders Dialogue, where President Xi Jinping delivered a keynote speech.
我们坚持发展优先。
She noted China will bolster its relationship with Africa in the future and will support Africa in manufacturing, industrialization and economic diversification. He said China has set up a global development and South-South cooperation fund with a total funding of $4 billion. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said he hopes African countries will engage with BRICS nations to assist them with infrastructure and development projects. Putin welcomed the 6 new member countries by video link. During the summit, she held talks with leaders including the presidents of Malawi, Tanzania and Iran. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Johannesburg Thursday. Beijing's foreign ministry said President Xi stressed that improving China-India relations served their common interests and was also conducive to peace, stability, and development of the world and the region. The meeting highlighted India's concerns about their unresolved border issues. Still ahead, Donald Trump becomes the first ever former U.S. president to have a mugshot taken. U.S. officials suggest Yevgeny Prigozhin could have been assassinated. Welcome back. Former U.S. President Donald Trump surrendered to law enforcement authorities Thursday for the 4th time this year, this time in the state of Georgia. Trump and 18 others were indicted, accused of participating in a conspiracy to overturn his presidential loss. Trump's mugshot today is the first of a former president in American history. Tracy Furness has more.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump landed in Atlanta, Georgia around 7 p.m. Thursday and was swiftly driven to the Fulton County Jail. He completed the booking process in a brisk 20 minutes, providing officials, as is customary, with his physical measurements: 6 foot 3 inches, 215 pounds, blonde. And Trump, who for 4 years in the White House reveled in the title of Mr. President, was given the inmate number of P011-35809. It wasn't long before a copy of the former president's mugshot was released. And his aides swiftly seized on the image, posting it on social media to fundraise off the first mugshot in American history of a former president, writing, "Election interference, never surrender." His opponents are likely to use it to remind voters of the dangers in electing a president facing dozens of felony charges. Before leaving Georgia, Trump was quick to respond to the day's events.
I really believe this is a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election. I thought the election was a rigged election, a stolen election, and I should have every right to do that.
The probe by Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis began after the release of a recording of a January 2nd, 2021 phone call between Trump and Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. Trump suggested that Raffensperger could find 11,780 votes, just enough to overtake Joe Biden. Supporters of both Trump and Biden were out protesting in Fulton today as the former president was arrested.
I believe he's innocent. I will stand before my president. I think he will lead our country again, and I'm counting on him. And I'm praying for our country right now.
This is great. This is awesome. Because it shows that even if you have all this money and all the power and you're the most powerful person in the United States, you are not above the law and you are not above consequences.
Trump became the first former president in U.S. history to be indicted. His first was in March this year. Since then, he has faced federal charges in Florida and Washington and now Atlanta. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment said an intentional explosion caused the plane crash, presumed to have killed Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group. This report by NBC News.
New images show the wreckage of the corporate jet that crashed Wednesday outside Moscow. U.S. officials believe this was likely no accident, but the assassination of Yevgeny Prigozhin, payback for daring to challenge Russian President Putin's grip on power in a short-lived mutiny 2 months ago. What exactly happened to the plane seen in this video falling out of the sky remains a mystery. Tonight, 2 U.S. officials tell NBC News intelligence gathered so far points to sabotage. One official saying a leading theory is that an explosive was placed on board, although they can't say with certainty. The Pentagon says there's no indication the jet was hit by a surface-to-air missile, while many suspect Putin ordered the hit. Today, he said Russian investigators need time to learn all the facts. He offered his warm condolences, describing Prigozhin as a talented businessman, but who also made serious mistakes in his life. Witnesses describe hearing an explosion and seeing the aircraft break apart. A wing flew off, this man says.
To knock the wing off the airplane is, that's a really large explosion to do that.
Prigozhin led the Wagner Group, a mercenary army that fought in Ukraine and props up dictators in Africa. Today, its fighters paid tribute to their leader. What has happened has happened. We have to stay together, he said.
London Zoo held an annual weigh-in for their animals as part of a week-long information gathering that monitors the health and well-being of more than 400 species.
We've been routinely sort of weighing our animals as much as we can because it gives us so much more information to understand what's going on with them internally. We can sort of see a lot from their behaviours and how they're responding to each other, but we also need to be responsible and know what's going on internally as well.
From Sumatran tigers to stick insects, the height and weight of almost every animal was recorded by zookeepers, with some being coaxed onto the scales with treats. This gorilla weighed 196 kilograms, while one of the zoo's Mexican red-knee tarantulas weighed 35 grams. London Zoo currently has around 14,000 animals. It was famously visited by Charles Darwin, who proposed the evolution theory while he was writing his Origin of Species book. And that is the news. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.